Hello everyone, I hope you're all having a great day so far. My name is JurassicKM and welcome to today's Repaint video. In this video, we will be tackling the 1993 variant of the Parasaurolophus from the original Jurassic Park. Now, unlike every other dinosaur in that movie, you don't get a very good look at the Parasaurolophus. So while I do have some screenshots and reference pictures on hand, we may have to implement a little bit of rule of cool for this one. Now, I have done this design before, using a Hammond Collection Parasaurolophus figure. And while I think this one looks fine, we're going to see if we can do one even better. So without further ado, let's get right to it. So I have done the 2-to-1 paint to water ratio for the tan base coat, and I gave that 2 coats. Then I have done a 1-to-5 paint to water ratio of citrus green, and we're going to apply that to the entire dinosaur, except for the horn and the inside of the mouth. Next, what I've done is I have used a very watered down antique white. This was a 1-to-6 ratio, and I'm applying it on the underbelly of the dinosaur. For the next step, we are dry brushing some campground onto the overbelly of the dinosaur. There's a few parts here where my youngest cat, Tigress, decided to see what was up, so I had to get her out of the shot. And then with the dry brushing done, we will move on to the next step. So for this next step, what I've done is I've taken a 2-to-1 ratio of bright orange and burnt umber, and I've diluted that to a 1-to-3 ratio for paint to water, and then we're doing the stripes on the sides of the dinosaur. You may notice that I'm not waiting for the paint to dry before adding a second coat. That's just because I wasn't convinced that the first coat was going to be thick enough to get the effect that I wanted. This next step is you take 1-to-5 paint to water of leaf green, and you apply it over the entire overbelly of the dinosaur. Basically over the stripes we just did and anywhere that you dry brushed. Once that wash dries, we have to create another wash. This is for every 3 drops of forest green, put in 2 drops of tropical blue. And then you want to mix that with a 1-to-4 paint to water ratio. And then you want to cover the entire tail as well as the little hump along the spine and the spot in between the orange stripes on the back of the neck. Here we are going to take a 3-to-1 ratio of campground and black. And then we're going to dilute it as a 1-to-3 ratio paint to water. And then we're putting the stripes along the back of the dinosaur. Now, I wound up having to do 2 coats of this because the single coat didn't get the effect that I wanted. So if you want to do it like a 1-to-2 water, that's totally okay. This next step is really simple. All we're doing is we're just taking some campground straight out of the cap, and we are painting it on the scoots, on the forelimbs, and the feet. I don't know how well this is going to come up on camera, but I wanted to add something to make that stripe along the side of the Parasaurolophus pop a little bit more. So all I'm doing here is I'm just taking some deep red and I'm dry brushing it onto the stripe around any dark patterns that may already be there. The next thing we need to do is take a wash of forest green. This is a 1-to-10 paint to water ratio, and then we're going to put this wash over the entire Parasaurolophus except for the horn and the inside of the mouth. Next up, we're doing the horn, which will require a 1-to-1 mix of cafe mocha and raw umber, and then this is mixed 2-to-1 paint to water ratio, and then we just cover the horn and the bills. I'm going to do a second coat of this off screen though, just to save some time. You know what? While we wait for the horn and the bills to dry, we are going to use the same color and we're going to paint in the claws on both the forelimbs and the feet. So for this step, we just use some blush pink and we take it straight out of the cap and we very, very carefully paint the inside of the mouth. You can see here that I slopped a little bit on the bills, so if you do slop like I did, just be sure to have some paint on hand so that you can touch it up. Next is one of my least favorite parts of repainting any dinosaur figure, eyes. So we use black for the eyeballs, and while we're here, we're going to take care of the nostrils. Then we are going to use cinnamon brown for the iris, and then we will use a tiny dot of black for the pupil. Okay, you may not be able to see this next step terribly well just because of how small it is on the figure, but I am taking some antique white straight out of the cap, and I am trying to very carefully put it on the teeth inside the Parasaur's mouth. Once that is done, we just add our clear coat and then our nail polish to the horn, eyes, mouth, and claws, and then we'll call this figure done. And thus concludes this repaint of the Jurassic Park Parasaurolophus. Personally, I like this second attempt more than the attempt I made with the Hammond collection, although I will admit that the wash does look better applied on the Hammond collection, but I think that more has to do with the sculpt rather than the technique. In the next video, we will actually be covering a very fun design, and we will be looking at the Jurassic World Dimorphodon. Folks, if you've made it this far into the video, I do want to thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to watch it. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, ring the bell for any future notifications, and share this video around. If you want to support the channel further, you can actually join my Patreon. The link is down below. Once again, I do want to thank you so much for watching, and until next time, this is JurassicKM, signing off.